On a perilous journey through the deserts of Egypt, a Spanish shepherd embarks on an adventure in search of a treasure trove after mysterious visions haunt him in his dreams. What started as a simple dream turns into a nightmare full of pharaonic curses and mysterious spirits. As he approaches the treasure, he discovers that the price may be higher than he expected. But will he escape from the grip of mysterious forces, or will the end of his journey be abrupt? Episode 1. Before we start, I advise you to listen to the story before bedtime. Put on headphones, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and then immerse yourself in the story. If you are interested in enjoying people's stories, then this channel is for you. So if you are interested, explore a lot of exciting stories and subscribe to the Northern Stories channel to settle on new, more fascinating stories. Let's go. My name is Santiago, and I am a shepherd from a small town near Barcelona, Spain. I never thought my simple life would take a serious turn, but deep down, everyone has something they are searching for, even if they don't realize it at first. I lived a quiet life, dreaming only of the day I would sell enough sheep to build a small house and start a family. But everything changed during those nights when dreams began to haunt me. It all started on a calm summer night. I slept under a starry sky, with my flock grazing around me. I had a strange dream. I was standing in front of the pyramids of Egypt, a place I had never visited and knew little about. I saw myself digging in the ground and unearthing an old, wooden chest engraved with strange symbols. When I opened it, I felt the light of gold fill my face, and beneath it was a tremendous treasure. I woke up suddenly, my heart racing, as if the dream had been real. I didn't give the dream much importance at first. Perhaps it was just a night illusion. But when the dream recurred on the second night, then the third, I began to seriously consider its meaning. Could there be a message in this dream? Could I be chosen by fate to find this treasure? As the days went by, the dream turned into an obsession, and I had little choice in the face of this obsession. One day, I made my decision. I sold everything I owned, all the sheep I had been tending for years, and gathered the money I obtained into a small bag. I knew I was risking everything, but something inside me urged me to take this step. I bid farewell to my village, left my simple life behind, and set off on a journey I had no idea how it would end. I boarded a ship headed to the African coast, where I would begin my journey across the Sahara Desert to Egypt. The journey was long and arduous, filled with dangers. I crossed cities and villages, meeting many people along the way. Some helped me, while others looked at me in astonishment as if I were crazy. But I was determined. I knew that if I stopped now, I would never forgive myself. One night, while I was traveling through the desert, I encountered a group of Bedouins. They were armed and imposing, but they were not hostile. They welcomed me into their tent and offered me food and water. When they asked me about the reason for my journey, I told them about my dream. One of them laughed and told me he had heard of such dreams before, and that they were nothing but mere illusions. But their leader, an old man with a white beard, looked at me with mysterious eyes and said, "Perhaps this dream is a message from the ancient gods. Do not give up on your journey, but be careful, for the road to treasure is fraught with dangers." I continued my journey, and it wasn't long before I reached Egypt. It felt strange to be in this foreign place, filled with ancient secrets. I stood on land that was once the center of a great civilization, feeling that I was on the verge of discovering something significant. But at the same time, there was a feeling of fear creeping inside me. What if all of this was just an illusion? What if there was no treasure at all? In the following days, I began to wander the streets of Old Cairo, trying to gather information about the pyramids and hidden treasures. I met people who believed they knew a lot about these matters, but most of the time their information was unhelpful or confusing. But I knew I had to keep going. One night, while I was sitting in a small cafe on the outskirts of the city, a mysterious man approached me. He looked poor and miserable, but he had sharp eyes. He sat next to me without invitation and said in a low voice, I heard you're looking for treasure. I didn't know how he knew that, but I didn't feel afraid. I told him my story, and in turn, he told me that he knew the location of the treasure, but the path was not easy. He warned me that there was a group of people searching for the same treasure, and they had gotten ahead of me on the way to the pyramids. He cautioned me that these people were not ordinary, and they might use unconventional means to reach the treasure. At that moment, I realized that I was not the only one seeking this treasure. There were others, perhaps more cunning and experienced than I. But I had no choice but to continue. The next day, I began my journey to the pyramids. The road was filled with challenges, from the scorching heat of the sands to the bandits who tried to rob me more than once. But each time, I managed to survive by a miracle. There was an inner strength pushing me forward, as if I were protected by mysterious forces. When I arrived at the pyramids, the sun was setting, and long shadows covered the ground. The place was filled with tourists, but I was not one of them. I was here for a different purpose. I began searching for any clue that could lead me to the treasure. On the third day of my stay there, while I was checking one of the dark passages next to the Great Pyramid, I heard strange sounds. Whispers and footsteps were approaching. I hid behind an old stone column and saw a group of men. They were wearing black clothes and carrying torches. They seemed to know what they were doing, and I was sure they were the group the man in the cafe had warned me about. I watched them from a distance, and felt something strange in the air. They were whispering incomprehensible words, as if they were performing some kind of ritual. I was certain that this ritual was related to the treasure, but I had no idea what it was. While I was observing, I noticed that the ground began to shake slightly. There were strange sounds coming from inside the earth, as if it were responding to the ritual. I felt scared, but I was determined to follow what was happening. Without them noticing, I followed them into a secret passage that led to an underground chamber. When I entered the chamber, the air was filled with the smell of ancient mold, and the walls were covered with mysterious symbols. I felt like I was in a place that had not been entered by anyone for thousands of years. But I had no time to think about this, as the group began to perform more steps of the ritual. They were lighting torches and drawing strange circles on the ground. Then something happened that I did not expect. When they finished the ritual, something went wrong. There was a loud scream, and I saw one of the men fall to the ground. I couldn't see exactly what happened, but I felt that something terrible had occurred. The ground began to shake more violently, and the walls started to crack. In the next moment, columns of black smoke exploded from the walls, as if evil spirits had been trapped there. The men began to scream and run in every direction, but the smoke was chasing them. Episode 2? Available in the channel.